So this training session started nicely, then moved on to this, then moved on to this. Which is me having a torn quad and my right quad being around 50 or 60% wider and thicker and more swollen than my left one. So the plan for this session is this is a Saturday morning. This is was going to be my last session in the first block of squats. So my plan was to go for a heavy triple, probably a heavy double. But as I built up, I kind of changed the plan slightly. So the usual here, knee sleeves, shoes on at the start. I would love to be putting my knee sleeves on at 140 or 160, but at this point now my calves just get way too pumped and there's no way of getting the knee sleeves on over them. During this session, I'm very kind of beat up from the week of training. So 3 heavy running sessions last week has led me to have very fatigued calves, ankles, Achilles, calves, basically everything. So a lot of sets with the empty bar here, and to be honest, this is the main thing for me. The main thing that will actually move the needle in terms of warming up is just getting more light reps in. Doing things like front foot raise split squats and all that can work from time to time, but to be honest, nothing works better than the actual movement itself in terms of warming up. The day before this session, I had a track session, which my adductors and my quads are kind of feeling at this point, even as I'm warming up here. So it's quite early in the day. It's not the ideal time for squatting, but just trying to warm up, get some blood flowing, get the legs moving a small bit. You'll of course see Murphy in the background of the videos. He absolutely loves coming to the gym. He doesn't like being tied to the climbing rope though, but he just loves being involved in anything. So this is the first set at 60 kilos. Nice and easy. You see a lot of these are a small bit high at like 60 kilos, at 100 kilos. But they're certainly not high when we get up to the heavier weights for the day. Now this is something I wouldn't usually be doing. Normally it would be one set at 60, one set at 100, one set at 140, one set at 180, and to be honest I wouldn't hang around for too long. I did multiple sets at multiple weights on the way up here. The first reason for that is obviously, as I said, just being a bit beaten up, needing a bit more of a warm up. The second reason is I broke the number one rule of squatting, and that is going to the toilet after you have started warming up, because obviously you piss all the squat varies away. So yeah, one set at 100 here feels grand. To go for a second set again. Everything here feels great. My quads just feel tight, my calves just feel tight, but not the major. It feels as every other squat session has recently, to be honest. If you're watching the training vlogs for the last few weeks, you would have seen that probably 4 weeks ago now I hit 180 for 5, so that's the kind of number in my head for today, as that's a good aim to hit. The main aim of today, to be honest, is just to get a fairly hard squatting session done. So this is the first set at 140. This is the first time that belt comes on. There's no sound in today's training vlog due to the fact that one of the lads is cleaning the gym and listening to some not royalty free music, so we won't have the sound on, unfortunately. This 140 feels very, very easy. They feel nice and fast, and that's why my next decision is just go straight to 180 and do 180 for 5. So 180 for 5 is a very good representation of where I am at the moment. It's a good kind of note to leave the end of the squat cycle on. Once I'm very primed and kind of ready for 230 plus, then 180 for 10 is definitely the kind of number I'll need to be hitting. But right now, a few months out, 180 for 5 is pretty good. So you'll see the first rep here, small bit harder. Second rep, nice bit easier. Third rep, easier again. And that always tends to be the way with my squatting for some reason. It's obviously not good, but there's definitely some post-activation potentiation goes on. Maybe I'm just a bit too cautious on the first rep. Maybe I'm just not concentrating hard enough. But The quality definitely improves as we go on. Now, the other nice thing about this 180 for 5 versus the one from a couple of weeks ago now is that I'm probably around 3 kilos or maybe 4 kilos lighter than I was back then. So it is a good step forward. Murphy gets his little bit of attention in between all the sets. Now, you'd see 200 loaded here. To be honest, 200 or putting 200 on the bar here is a mistake. My quad is definitely already injured at this point. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure why I went for it and why I put 200 on. Certainly as I'm setting up to this, I'm not really fully committed to it. There's no real reason for me to be doing this squat. So set up the exact same way, drop down into the bottom, and then never really push through it. I think if I had ground through that like I did 195 a couple of weeks ago, it would have been there for sure. But today there's no reason, no incentive to be doing it. Plan for the next few weeks now is to go back to some volume. So back to 12s, back to 10s for a number of weeks. The grind continues. Thanks very much for watching. As always, if you have questions about training, if you have questions about what I'm doing for the squat and the run and how I kind of structure that, let me know. If you'd like the training programs exactly as I'm doing them here, I follow it on the Sika Strength app, so you can get the RTA number 1 or number 2. I've been doing the number 2 for the last 11 weeks. That's my number 1 recommendation for your squat. The added advantage is that if you're running their training with the app, you get 2 programs at a time. So you could be running the squat programs and maybe doing a bench press program or a strict press program at the same time. Or you could be doing the squat program and doing some conditioning work. So maybe you want to do some running, which would be like 400 and 800 meter repeats. There's a track running program in there. Or you might want to just do some general conditioning on the rowing erg or something along those lines. The app will cater to all of that. So thanks very much for watching. See you soon.